It's an honor to be here today and be part of this panel. What it's all about in the presentation, it's the holistic documentation of the past. We heard this morning the keynote from Professor Moroboulou, but also the first keynote of this session from Professor Di Giulio as a good introduction. And now, what it is all about, it is, let's say, the meaning of cultural heritage. We do a documentation in cultural heritage. What is it actually, a cultural heritage? A museum object. What is that? Why is it so important? Why do we care about the documentation and so on? A monument. What is it actually? And then, of course, I will give an example as a case study from the common project which we have here, the Cypriot inception case. It is a knowledge-based documentation. Professor Moroboulou, as well as Professor Di Giulio, mentioned that it is about knowledge. It is not about the documentation of objects. The challenges, the risks, of course, the multidisciplinarity which is behind, the missing standardization. We do what? We document, but we don't have standards to write, you know? We don't have the grammatical rules. We don't have the semantic rules. And we document what? Past knowledge, our human history. That's a great challenge and probably one of the greatest risks which we are undergoing now. And the UNESCO or the UN Sustainable Goals. Cultural heritage, if you ask someone, the answer is something about the past. It is the story of the past. It is a knowledge, it is a memory, it is a lesson learned, it is our know-how hub, hidden in libraries, in museums, in archives. It is big and complex multimodal data structures in the form of text, in books, images, in photographs, audio, in audio recordings and so on, videos, but also 3D. It is tangible and intangible. And to quote one very famous prime minister in the UK, a nation that forgets its past has no future. So we need the past to move to the future. That's all about cultural heritage documentation, which is very, very important. It's not only protection, it's not only preservation, it's not only reconstruction, it's not only education, it's not only research, and so on and so on. So today, ladies and gentlemen, it's an important day of Europe. It's a coincidence. It's the so-called Digital Day, 9th of April. This moment, exactly this moment, the EU 27 cultural ministers are signing a special protocol, and this is the Digital for Culture, advancing digital documentation in cultural heritage. So, having that in mind, let's take one very worldwide famous object, a museum object. If you go to the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, this is what you will see when you go in. By seeing that, you don't understand anything. If you see it in a better resolution, it looks something suspicious behind. If we see an investigation, let's say a Röntgen analysis out of that, something is hidden. The word hidden is very important. It's inside of the object. And if, of course, a multidisciplinary team is going to work, then this is what you see there. It's a very complicated machine. 2,100 years old. Yeah, we heard about what was here 2,000 years ago. That was in Greece. And they found it 100 years ago on the ground of the sea outside of the island of Antikythera, and that's the so-called mechanism of Antikythera. It's very famous because this is the oldest analog computer of the world. That's the machine that they used, the ancient Greeks, to calculate the exact day of the Olympic Games. Olympic Games, huh? What is that? It's also tangible and intangible. Yeah, it's something that we preserve from generation to generations, and so on and so on. So let's see, let's have a look what it's all about. And I am surprised the videos are not playing. No, this one is playing. So let's see, ladies and gentlemen. And this, what you see here is more or less, this is what Professor Moropoulou this morning presented, but from a different point of view. So this is a machine constructed or designed, I'm using the word designed first, constructed, well, very, very well, let's say, examined and used. You can see on that video the complexity behind 2,100 years ago. Yeah? So, and by saying this, this is not only digitization. We don't have any more to do with digitization. We have to do with a piece of science. We have to do with a piece of knowledge. We have to do with a piece of expertise. We have to do with a piece of know-how which was hidden. Yeah, hidden for thousands of years on the ground of the sea outside of the island of Antikythera. So this science, this piece of mastership of knowledge was somehow lost and has been redesigned, rediscovered, reconstructed by using reverse engineering in a multidisciplinary way. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the object at the entrance of the Archaeological Museum of Athens. Professor Moropoulou said today, the monument is talking. Yeah, we are talking also. So if you stand in front of that object at the entrance of the museum, not only minutes, also hours, days, weeks, years, you will not understand anything from the language that this object is talking to you. But even if you start talking to the object will not understand you. And the object, it is what? It is a monument. It is tangible and has a memory, has a knowledge. That's knowledge, yeah? So, ladies and gentlemen, that's a nice example of why we digitize in cultural heritage. We digitize because we have to keep the memory alive, yeah? The knowledge. If we go now and use a monument, okay, I passed the moment, nevertheless, this is one of the examples that we use in Inception, a monument from Cyprus. And you see here the entire documentation which we have. This monument is UNESCO World Heritage listed object. From this, what you see here, can you understand or can you compare it to the Cologne Cathedral? To the Strasbourg Cathedral? It is a building, huh? But okay, nevertheless, it is not because of the architecture, yeah? It is because of this, what again, in the monument, yeah? It is inside, it is hidden, it is not outside. So, and this, what you see here, it is, according to UNESCO, an outstanding and universal value of human creation. And that's the reason why we need to protect that. It's 1,000 years old object, creation, yeah, mastership. So how now the digital, let's say the ICT, can help and support us to transfer this mastership, this knowledge, this know-how to the generations to come, or even to the visitors over there. And you see here different, let's say, documents of our attempt to make it so simple, or to write the language, the grammatic and the semantic in such a way so that visitors or users of these objects, like an architect, can understand the language of the object, of the monument as such. So, by saying this, I'm just only giving you one example of the area over there, which is shaded, and of course the complexity of mathematics, which is behind, as it was by the museum object, to make it available, to get out of the inside of the interior of the object, this what is, yeah, mathematically over there, to be transferred or to be converted to a plane, and then from there to transfer it in such a way, in the Lego form, to different kits. Huh? It's not easy. And even to our so-called smart devices. And that's a story. Story is knowledge. The knowledge is in the books. Books is split in chapters. And the story of this monument is split also in pages. And these pages, each one of these pages, it is a story of a unique fresco. And I brought this one here because these pages here, ladies and gentlemen, are unique, exist only once in the world. So if you want to see them in original, you have to visit the monument. Yeah? And that's the reason why it is so important, this monument. But of course, we are using different kind of technologies so that we transfer that, what it is there, to everybody. And not only to architects, to civil engineers, and so on and so on. So, knowledge-based documentation in the digital transformation, ladies and gentlemen. That's all about digital cultural heritage at the moment. And this is how we need to see it. And if we miss this point, then we missed a good chance. Who and how can bring or link it together? Who can take care of this task or to contribute to that? Yeah, it is this multidisciplinary community. We heard that several times today. And all these, or few of them, are listed over there. Starts from A, like archaeologists, architect, is going to be even biologists, civil engineers, survey engineers, and so on and so on. So, and the most important, and the highest risk that we are undergoing now, we don't have standards. And if there are just only exceptions, and those who are digitizing in China, or let's say digitizing in Africa or in Europe, their documents cannot be retrieved in a couple of years from others, let's say in America. So digitization, modeling, storytelling, yeah? We talk also about the intangible, about archiving, about use and reuse. Ladies and gentlemen, with other words, and that's the reason why today the EU Ministers of Cultures in Europe are signing this declaration and take action in digitization in cultural heritage, advancing cultural heritage. Why? Because they move forward as Europe to change this what is here, to take action. And this is what we heard today. This is what we do. This is what we do in the documentation of the knowledge of the past. This is what Mr. Churchill said, yeah, nations who never learned from the past, huh? That's to contribute to this, to the UN Sustainable Goals. So to help and support also to have a better future, yeah? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much. Come to the end.